Good morning, everybody. I'm one of the account managers here at Wallix. I specialise in the OT space, and obviously the agenda today is for IEC 62443. And what we'll do is take you through how we as a company can help you with that accreditation. Firstly, though, I'd just like to say we are recording this, so you will receive a copy of the recording after the event, probably tomorrow. And also, if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat. And what we'll do is we'll get to those at the end of the webinar. We have time allowing for that. I guess firstly, though, what I'd like to do is just take you through a little bit about Wallix, take you through the agenda, and who the actual presenters are. As you can see, so we have Gwendal, who's from our OT security specialist division, Guido, who's our ICISO who works on the compliance requirements, Nicholas Moskal, who's one of our pre-sales engineers who will take you through the live demo, myself I've already introduced, and Graham, who will wrap things up at the end as another one of our if you like, account managers. Next, please. Okay, so we'll just talk through a little bit, very brief, about who we are as a company. Gwendal will take us through the OT landscape and the solutions. As I said, Guido will take you through IEC 62243 in a little bit of detail. Nicholas will do the live demo, and then we'll allow for Q&A at the end. Next, please. Okay, so who are Wallix? For those of you that don't know, we're really the only European privileged access management vendor. We're based out of France. Our head office is in Paris. We do operate in 90 countries. We have a direct presence in approximately 16, and that's growing all the time. But through our distribution and our partner capability, we do have the ability to supply our solutions in over 90 countries. We do have 3 R&D centres across one in Madrid, one in Paris, and one in northern France. And in terms of us as an organisation, we are highly recognised within Gartner and Cooper & Cole as being a main player and a leader really in this space. I'll leave you to read our mission statement for yourselves, sorry. And without further ado, I will hand over to Gwendal.
Thank you, Chris. Can you hear me? It's okay?
All good. Thank
you very much. So let's start with the OT landscape. So you may have heard of Wallix with the IT cybersecurity solutions, and we've launched OT security 3 years ago to address OT environments such as manufacturing, critical infrastructure, healthcare. And the purpose of this new brand is to secure remote access by providing digital trust within industrial environments. So let's talk about remote access. Digitalization has increased the needs of these accesses. During and after the COVID-19 pandemic, remote work became widespread all around the world, and it will continue in the coming years. Sometimes you don't have the choice because a plant can be very isolated and difficult for operators to access. You have to be responsive because today, with globalization, your team and vendors need to have access and react quickly when there is a problem. And moreover, OT systems are evolving and are more and more connected to the internet. I'm thinking of the 3rd and the 4th generation of SCADA systems which are more and more complex and need external knowledge to be maintained. So clearly, on the next slide, you can see that maintenance in industrial environments is key today, whether for diagnostic, supervision, data transfer, or troubleshooting. It's all part of the drive for operational efficiency. That's why remote access tools have become essential and unfortunately are most often based on VPN gateways provided by manufacturers or third-party contractors. Obviously, remote access, especially third-party remote access, is a hot topic, and I'm sure that all of your customers have remote access spread within their plants. So on the next slide, as I just said, remote accesses have become essential for maintenance and digitalization. but it has introduced some pain points. For example, increasing the attack surface with the anarchic deployment of VPN gateways supplied by third-party manufacturers and contractors. The implementation of PAM4OT, our solution, introduces centralized access, offering a single point of connection. This is a unique method to implement a unified security policy across all service providers. Such centralization facilitates the improvement of security measures, including identity protection, access control, and the customization of user permission on equipment. So let's talk about the benefits of a dedicated solution such as PAM4OT. Target three main topics. The first one, the secure remote access, enables third-party contractors adoption with an easy-to-use solution such as a web interface, a centralized user-centric approach, or a simple workflow that doesn't disturb the current processes. And that's something very important. The simplified administration of the solution is agentless and could be deployed with a distributed approach. And last but not least, we focused on production continuity by supporting industrial protocols such as Modbus, Profinet, or PCUA, by supporting the IT remote tools such as VNC, very important in the industrial sector, by securing file transfer, as it is physically carried out in factory with decontaminators for USB key today. So let's look at another view of the main difference between the expectation of IT departments and OT ones, because it's not the same thing, but sometimes it is. Both sectors, for example, place high performance on classic protocols such as RDP or SSH, indicating essential needs for secure and manageable access. But OT shows a greater emphasis on universal tunneling because of industrial protocols, approval, request to control access to the production, and higher demand for file transfer, malicious file detection, and deployment ease. This highlights OT's unique requirement for robust and flexible security solutions to ensure operational safety and continuity. So next, OT and IT, thank you, Bea. OT and IT share the same technical platform, but OT environments need specific adjustment regarding the specificities required in its processes and stakes. Key points include seamless connection, makes it easier to set up SSH tunnel, crucial for reliable connection in OT. NAT path configuration addresses the common issues of IP overlaps in OT networks, requiring effective management. Multi-tunneling highlights the necessity for OT file clients to access multiple interfaces at the same time for complex stacks. And TIA portal notes the potential disruption caused by OT clients to seamless connection, needing careful configuration. And the main purpose for industrial companies is to maintain security for operational efficiency. I think that's a word, operational efficiency. So now let's see the key differentiators of our solution. On the left side, we have a user connecting through secure access via HTTPS to a proxy server. The connection is labeled as primary connection and is a direct route from the user to the network. PAM4OT is a central component that facilitates both security analysis and control access to the OT networks. It acts like a gatekeeper, where user credentials and activities can be controlled, traced, and analyzed. And so that's something very important. And we will talk about compliance with Guido, and with compliance, we need to be traced and analyzed. Secondary connection, which allows the continuity of various protocols such as RDP, SSH, DNC, Profinet, enable remote connection with different components of the industrial system, such as engineering station, IoT gateway, SCADA systems, and PLC. Protocol isolation is a strong differentiator in terms of cybersecurity. It stands in contrast to traditional VPN-based technologies, which are no longer sufficient today. Protocol isolation significantly reduces exposure. Wallix provides, since last year, a new offer designed for OT environments, Wallix One Remote Access. It allows easy-to-manage remote access for external users with full visibility and isolation from third-party systems. IT administrators can delegate user access creation, and it includes a self-service option for password resets. Key benefits are real-time access management, autonomy between OT and IT team, and that's something very important, and IT resources optimization to better control total cost of ownership. This system aims to streamline remote access operations while maintaining high security standards. So now, something very important for the deployment of a cybersecurity tool is to integrate it in your plant as seamlessly as possible. It's almost impossible to change what has already been deployed in your plant, so the cybersecurity tools must adapt to your environment. If we take the Purdue model, for instance, you must keep the current OT and IT layers and add a new one called Industrial DMZ, where all your cybersecurity components will be installed and connected easily and seamlessly to your PLC, RTU, engineering station, and etc. So let's talk about use cases. How do third-party contractors connect remotely to OT equipment today? It's always the same thing. They are used to using VPNs. For instance, user 1 connect to a HMI with an E1 router, user 2 with an ET gateway, and finally user 3 with a Sycomere 1, for instance. But how can you control who is connected and what they are doing on which piece of equipment? It's impossible, and you depend on the good faith of your third-party contractors. It's not possible anymore. So if you want to secure your remote access, on the next slide, you can see that you don't have any other choice but to centralize this connection with the PAM tool. And it's very simple. Indeed, you just have to ask your third-party contractors to connect to the PAM with their personalized credential, and then they will have access only to the targets they need, either with RDP SSH protocol to reach a window or Linux engineering station, or with universal tunneling if they want to run a specific application, such as TIA Portal, using an industrial protocol. Next, I would like to take the file transfer use case as an example because it's a very common need. Today, most of the time, file transfer for remote users who use a VPN access haven't got any kind of control. They can download or copy-paste all files they want, of course, without any control. And you are exposed to viruses, and the whole plant could be infected with a lateral movement mechanism. So the solution with PAM for OT is that you can control file transfer easily. First, the remote user must be authenticated using their personalized credentials, and then the file they would like to transfer will be intercepted by the PAM tool and analyzed by an antivirus server that you can provide. If the file is clean, the PAM tool will send it to the right target with the standard protocol SFTP or SCP, and if not, it will be blocked. And that's it, nothing more than authentication control according to the defined rights. A last use case, PAM4OT is compatible with the VNC software, and it's very relevant for industrial environments, and also with all the overlays of VNC. So you can still use your VNC to copy and paste your files on the industrial targets. So now a remote user who wants to connect to an engineering station will have to authenticate before connected with VNC to your industrial PC. So now let's talk about compliance, but maybe an interactive poll just before.
Thank you, Gwendol. So we're going to run a poll now. So we're going to do a couple of these throughout the presentation at certain sections. I'm going to run a couple of questions for you now. So I'm going to launch that out to the audience. So please get ready to engage when we push this out. Okay, so we're going to ask, how critical do you consider secure remote access for securing your organization's OT infrastructure? Please do vote now, and we'll collect up the responses. I'll leave it open for a few moments for you. Coming up to about 70% voted now. A couple more seconds, we'll leave it open. Okay, we'll close that one off. So we'll just move to the second one. Firstly, we'll just go through the results. Got quite a high, extensive, extremely critical. 85% of people voted for extremely critical regarding securing remote access for OT environments. Around 15% moderately critical. We'll go to the next question for you here. Launch that out to you. What is your organization's current approach to managing secure remote access in your OT environments? So please do open up that poll for you and then put some votes in there, and we'll leave it open for a few more seconds. See, it's getting quite a mixed results on this one. About half people have voted now, so we'll keep open for about another 5 seconds, 6 seconds. Okay, we'll close that one off. I can see that, you know, from that particular question, most people will say about 35% of people say basic controls are in place with limited automation. Around sort of 39% more sort of around dedicated secure remote access solutions in place, and 22% are saying no specific approach in place here. So I'll hand back over to the speakers. We'll take you back through into the next section of the webinar, and we'll speak to you again on the next interactive poll. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Guido Kraft. I'm the field CISO of Wallix. My responsibility is to show the customers the opportunities they have to match with our solution portfolio the compliance regulations, like here for OT, the IEC 62443. We will call it the IEC 6244333. That is the standard that you as a customer yourself has to fulfill to achieve compliance. And please, next slide on it. So what are the key facts of IEC 6244333? So it is an international standard. It is well known all over the world, and it stands for Industrial Communication Networks. The scope are IACS systems, what is normally called Industrial Automation and Control Systems. It is a framework behind it, so it offers a comprehensive framework for implementing cybersecurity measures throughout the life cycle of the industrial control systems. It is a big part of the, no, go back, thank you. It is a very relevant part of the risk management of every organization, because it refers to a zones and conduits model. So as Gwendol showed it, you have the Purdue model with the different zones. And so in that way, you can achieve from your side which are the very high risk systems, put them in the right tiering zone or in the right zone in the conduit model. And so you can separate it from each other. And I will show you later how privileged access management can help you on that. It defines the several security levels here. We have security level 1 to 4 to classify security requirements of the industrial control systems and the potential impact of security breaches in context of that. Also, it is a big part of the whole compliance and certification phase. So you can do a certification on it. There are several organizations in the world who can give you the certification on that standard, because it is official more or less worldwide. It is part of a continuous improvement system, what I call a PDCA cycle, so plan, do, check, act cycle. So it is not a it is not about that you implement for first time the standard and all the security things around it. So it is about that you get better and better and better in run of the times for your security. And another time, the global adoption of the IEC 62443, it is an international standard. It is worldwide accepted, and also for companies that are working worldwide, it is good to go with a standard like this, do a certification on that standard. And just some remarks from my side. You see at the bottom of it, some shortcuts I like to explain first before we go forward. So we have the FRs, that is the structure of the IEC 62443. That are the foundational requirements. There are 7 foundational requirements as the topics, I will say. Then you have the SRs. The SR are the system security requirements. What you maybe know from ISO 27001 called controls there. And you have the REs, that are the requirement enhancements, that are something like sub-controls of the system security requirements. Go forward. So we speak about remote access to industrial networks. And for a moment, I would like to come back to the classical system. So the classical access to systems like that is a VPN connection from outside directly to the network and to the plant. But we will see now that there are a lot of problems related to that if you go on in a way like this with no control over the connection to this network. Please go forward. So at the end, what are the VPN situation today? What is good? What are the pros for a VPN connection? So we have a dynamic outgoing connection. We have end-to-end data encryption tunnel. We have the possibility to access the industrial networks and segments. So everything you need to do on this way, you can do. But the problem is at another side. So you have, for the virtual connect, uncontrolled and hidden connections, you cannot have a dedicated view who accessed in what situation and at what time to your network, because everyone is maybe able to do a VPN connection to a network at any time around the clock. And you have no security policy that is managing this uncontrolled access. And as I speak about foundational requirements, you see at the bottom which controls are affected if you do not control the systems, well, you have here the foundational requirements 1, 2, 3 that are affected. On the second point you see there, you have no visibility of session activity. You cannot say what happened in that session when someone is accessing your network from outside. You have no granular privilege reduction on it, because someone do a VPN connection to your network and maybe he has access to a complete subnetwork. How do you make sure that he doesn't connect to maybe just another machine in that network segment where you don't give access to? And that is what I meant there. You can exploit, access many IP addresses and ports. And that is another thing with solutions like from Wallix, you have the ability, as you see it, to do a universal tunneling connection so that you can make sure that someone is only accessing a dedicated port on a machine and not a subnet or all the ports on one IP address. Please go forward. So let us speak about the VPN-related risks in view of the IEC 62443. So the first and the main one is the user identity, because a lot of times, and I see it often in the past in my former jobs, there are a lot of generic accounts, and these generic accounts are commonplace. So a nominative account is no guarantee of the user's identity. You make sure that someone who's accessing the network is really this one who should take remote access to your plants and machines. Secrets. We have often the situation that PLCs and things like that has equipment passwords, and that are typical passwords. Okay, some may be simple as 1, 2, 3, 4 and things like that. But the PLCs and things like that are shipped with that passwords, with their default passwords, and everybody knows these passwords. So it is a very good thing to change this by default and not working with that thing. Next thing is lateral movement. Is lateral movement. There you find a lot of things in the foundational requirement 3. So users can perform network discovery and perform lateral movement to connect to other devices, because as I explained before, if someone comes via a VPN connection, he maybe has access to all the machines in the plant because he has access to the subnetwork. And that is a real big problem. And also for a wider look in the future, when you have machine identities, it's the same problem like with user identities. So if you have maybe software robots in your plants that are accessing the different PLCs that are identities too, and you have to manage them, and you need to manage how they are accessed. Next thing is traceability. Once you have a VPN connection, you have more or less no control over it, because everyone is in the default configuration able to connect every time and every day to your plants and systems. That are things that are mentioned in the foundational requirement 2 of the IEC 62443. So the main things are that I cannot see who has accessed at which time my systems at the end. And it follows up to user admin rights that are mentioned in the FR123. Only login account used by the user, usually administrator, can be used to define a rights policy. So the situation is normally you have maybe a workstation for accessing PLC systems. And this workstation will be accessed via RDP protocol from outside the organization. And the normal situation is that on these stations, you have local admin rights. And that is another thing that you have to manage. And we can make sure with privileged access management that only processes and programs can only be executed that you want to be executed, because we have over and over the principle of least privileges. So we need to make sure that someone who's working on your plans can only do that things he should do. Next slide, please. So what is said in the IEC recommendations for third-party access? So things I mentioned before. You need to do a segmentation of your network on that side, but also a segmentation in the way of tiering and in the way of the Purdue model. So logical separation, and with the help of access management tool, you are able to access these different parts stage by stage. And we can do a staging concept so that we can make sure that someone's coming from outside accessing your network can only access first the management infrastructure, and then we can say, okay, how we manage now the further accesses to other systems that are in another zone. So maybe there should be no access to zone 0 or zone 1, just only access to zone 2, and that is manageable only through a privileged access management system. You cannot manage this in a way with other tools. So then you have the filtering, access and protocol filtering. So normally, and Gwen will show it, if you have maybe an SSH connect to a system, you are able to do an SCP upload, or you can do an SCP download to that system. Or you have an RDP connection to a target system. You can upload via the clipboard data or download data from your plans, from your systems. That is not a thing you can accept, and that is a thing where clearly the recommendation for the IEC 62443 said you need to make sure that no data can left your company in that way. So you need to regulate that. Another thing is the authentication. I mentioned it, generic accounts. We need to have registered accounts so that you can at the end provide a full audit trail. And that is what it's all about in the IEC 62443. When you combine all the controls, it is also about if something happens on your system, you need to provide a full audit trail to say, okay, whose identity has accessed my network at which time and what he has done on my system. I have so that you can show a complete log, that you can show maybe a video recording of your session. All these things that needs to be managed, and that altogether are parts of these relevant standards. And that is not only the IEC 62443, that is also described exactly in the NIST 800 SP 882 for OT, and you see it again in the MITRE ATT&CK matrix for ICS, NIST2, and upcoming regulations for financial sectors like DORA and so on. Please go forward. So to bring all these things now together in one slide, what are the recommendations that we have at the end? So we need to do flow isolation. We need to make sure that you have a unique flow for each target. So that someone maybe coming from outside the organization and need to do a remote access to your systems can only access exactly this systems he is responsible for. You need to achieve visibility so that you can say, okay, I'm able to audit the session. I can have a direct view what is happening on the system in that moment someone is accessing the system, or an audit after the session is done so that you can re-audit what has happened. So maybe a catastrophic thing has happened during the session, and you need to show maybe your cybersecurity insurance what has happened on that system, and just to fulfill exactly these recommendations. Granularity is another thing. What I speak about, filtering the sub-protocols, not allow anything to do on the target system. With a privileged access management system, you can say, okay, no one should be able to do a command like rm-r on a target system, so that every data is going away, so that you can also achieve via our solutions. A very big part what is recommended is password management. So speaking about standard passwords 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and things like that, that is not possible. But another thing of password management is the one who's accessing your plans from outside should not know which password is used. So you need a solution that can directly put the password in the session so that the one coming from outside do not know which password is used for accessing the target system. Reducing of rights. So do not allow people to do anything on your target system. Control it. And at the end, traceability, video recording, and session transcript to review everything. Please go forward. What I show you here is more a very theoretical thing, but that are a part of the IEC 62443. And as you can see, we do mapping on it from our side, and we can provide you the mapping, how we can match with our product portfolio to all the recommendations that are here in the IEC 62443. And you see directly that there are a lot of yes in there. Here as an example, it's only the FR1 that is mentioned here, but the thing that is much more interesting is that we every time match on the highest security level. So we match every time on the security level 4 with our solutions. And another interesting thing is, if you take a look at the left, there are, as I mentioned, 7 FR sections. At all 100 SRs and sub-RRs, what I meant controls. And with our solution portfolio, we are matching on around 58 of these 100 controls that are mentioned in the IEC 62443. So 58% could be directly addressed with the Wallix solution portfolio. 4% can be partially addressed with our solution portfolio, and you can feel free to come back at me. I can show you it in a meeting or something else if you contact us, and I can show it you in the deep. Please go forward. So the additional facts are what I mentioned. We matched to 62% of all the controls, but that is half of the truth, because 30 of 100 of these controls are do not referring in any case to privileged access management and things like that. There are also things mentioned like physical security, entrance security, and things like that. So 30 of that 100 controls are not in view of technical solutions like a privileged access management system. So the truth is, at the end, we are matching on 62 out of 70 security controls of technical security, and that means we're matching with our solution portfolio to around 90% of the controls that are mentioned in the IEC 62443. And as I said, I can show you it, I can explain you it, and we can sound out your material on it, how we map this. Please go for. Just click, please. Further, yeah. Further, please. Okay, stop. So now we can say at the end, okay, we have a dedicated mapping to the controls. We worked on it. we should take a look and show the customers like you what we can do on it. And now we could say, oh, okay, we stop at that point. But Wallix do not stop at that point. We thought about what could be interesting for the customer to have to achieve these kind of security like IEC 62443 compliance in a very short time. And so as you can do policies and restrictions in our solution, we developed a preset based on in that way NIS2 and German BSI, and could provide you a full policy template for your organization. So you can onboard our product. We can provide you the Wallix Bastion, that is our core product in privileged access management. And if you say, okay, I need some password change policies, connection policies for RDP, connection policies for SSH, authorization policies where there is mention that you need to have two approvers on that connection to the target system and all the things like that. We can provide you a full set of predefined rules and push it via infrastructure as a code, via an Ansible script in your system. And then you only need to onboard your system and say, okay, these are my target system groups, and that are referred to the password change policy for high risk systems. So that what you have here at the end is a risk class model provided by us. So exactly on the matched on the Purdue model for the severity and the risk of the different systems, you can directly say, okay, this is a very high risk, a risk zero system, and that gets the risk zero connection policy for SSH, and it gets for the target accounts, the password change policy for very high risk systems, and you get the connection policy. You have not the ability to use a clipboard or things like that are all predefined from our side there. So go to the last slide, please. Forward, forward, forward. So to achieve at the end compliance with IEC 62443 means you need at the end exactly a system like that what you see here. You need a structured system between the very high risk systems, the high risk systems, medium risk and normal risk systems, where you have a full set of policies for accessing it. You have a real structured system. You have not the situation like in the past coming from outside via TeamViewer and things like that. You have one access from outside, from users, from approvers, from auditors to the target systems, and everything is regulated by the Wallix risk class system and clearly structured on that. So that is the target you need to reach. And if you reach exactly this target, I can tell you on the points that are relevant in the IEC 62443, then you are fine and then you are fully compliant in that way. And with access management, you have the ability to do the most of the controls, much more than with vulnerability scanner and things like that. You need other solutions. You need an antivirus, you need a vulnerability scanner and so on. And you can integrate it with our solution. But access management at the end, who can access from outside your company, which of your critical systems, and that you have to control who can access which system. That is one of the core, and so in that way you are able to reach it. And another time from my side, if you want to have additional information on that, please feel free to come back at me. Let us organize a private meeting and speak about that because we can provide a lot of material from that side to you. Thank you from my side. and I give further to Nicola.
Thank you. We've just come up to the second poll, so get ready. I'm just going to start to push out the next questions for you. Just find this here. So we're going to go to the next question on the interactive poll. There's going to be 2 questions here again, like last time. So just get ready and we'll launch the question out to you. So which factor do you believe is the biggest barrier to effective securing remote access implementation in your OT environment? So please do vote. We can see people are voting now. Leave it open for about 15 to 20 seconds. It's coming up to about half of people have voted so far. It's picked up a bit of speed there. Okay, we'll close that one off in 2 seconds. Okay, so we can see that it's drawn actually. 33% of people have come back with complexity of OT infrastructure and systems as the answer, and another 33% of people have come back resistance from OT teams to change existing setups. Also, people have put 25% of the audience voted for lack of budgets and resources, and 8% came through with lack of support from executive leadership. So quite a mixed result there. We'll just ask another question. So we'll go to the next one for you. Just push that out again. Ready? There we go. So how confident are you in your organization's ability to detect and respond to unauthorized access into your OT environments? Okay, so we'll leave that open for about 30 seconds. See, people are voting away quite quickly on this one. Yes, coming up to about 60% voted now. Okay, a couple more seconds. And close that off. Okay, so the answers to that one, we've got a joint one again, which is 48% have said moderately confident, 48% have actually said not confident at all, and only 5% have said very confident. So again, quite an interesting answer there from the polls. I'll hand over to Nicolas, and now I'll take you into the next stage of the technical demonstration, and then we'll follow up again with one question at the end on the interactive polls. Thank you very much. See you soon.
Thank you, Graham. Okay. Just give me a couple of seconds, please. All right, you should see my screen. Okay. All right, so before starting the demo, I just want to give you a brief description of the architecture of our solution. So our solution is made of mainly of 2 components. So there's a PAM4OT bastion that you can see in the center, and the PAM4OT access manager. So the bastion in itself, it's an appliance that you deploy in your environment, and that will give access, and especially access control, to address different kind of resources. So you have OT applications and OT systems, like control systems and execution systems. You have network security devices, engineering stations. And we can also provide access to PLCs. So for system OT application and systems, you can use RDP and SSH to connect through the bastion to the systems. So in that case, you will have an internal operator connecting through the bastion, and he or she will be only available to connect to what it was entitled to connect. So I will only see what I'm allowed to connect to. With universal tunneling, you will run your application from your desktop, and you will connect with your application through the Bastion to the systems. So now the Bastion, it's a proxy, I would say, so meaning that we can implement some controls on this appliance. First control that we can implement, monitoring. You will be able to see what happens in real time, who is connected and what this person is doing. We can implement blocking of commands, like I want to block a specific command to be run, like Guido was mentioning rm-rf to prevent people from accidentally or intentionally removing files, prevent programs to be run, and program natural movements. If I'm allowed to connect to a device and only one device, I shouldn't be able, while connecting to this device, to jump onto another device. So for the remote users, and that's critical, we provide an appliance that is named the Access Manager. So the Access Manager, so the Bastion sits in the IDMZ, so level 3.5 in the Purview model, and while the Access Manager sits in your DMZ. So in that case, internal operators, after all, they can use the Access Manager, or external suppliers will be able to connect remotely from hot wires, from home, anywhere, to the Access Manager. Then the Access Manager will connect to the Bastion, will retrieve all the authorizations set on the Bastion, and then connect eventually to the appropriate target. So here you see there's HTTPS. So externally, I will connect using HTTPS. Then the Access Manager will connect to the resource using either RDP or SSH. So that's a complete change of protocol. And then the Bastion will establish a whole new connection to the target systems. So you have the protocols, the connection is very segmented, meaning that you cannot really import easily the exploitation of a flow in the protocol. Also, regarding importing dangers, we can integrate with the NICAP system. So usually it's for preventing to upload viruses, or you can also use a DLP system. Now, if you see here, and that's something that you might not be very comfortable with, or that is forbidden, you can see the incoming connection are from the outside. And if that's something that you don't want, we have a solution that won't be covered during the demo, but we have Wallix 1 remote access. In that case, this is a solution stored in the cloud, and the connection goes from the Bastion to Wallix 1, and then the external suppliers will connect using Wallix 1. Of course, for access, we can implement MFA layer. In the features itself, so both available on the Bastion, on the Access Manager, you can have access to session, and you can also have access to passwords. Sometimes you have to give passwords, but if you give password, you want to have at least knowledge who it was shared with and when it was shared with. You can also have an automatic change of passwords set by the system, by the Bastion, and you can also mix the two features, meaning that you can rotate the password after it's been used. I lend you the keys to my apartment, you do some work, you leave, I change the logs automatically. If you come back afterwards, maybe 1 month, in 6 months, you cannot get in because you had the password. So now I'll show you briefly how you design the access. I won't go through all the admin interface, but just to give you a little sense of what it is. So basic users have access to basic user access. So you define a user group having access to a particular group of assets. So assets could be applications, could be sessions, and could be passwords. And you can enable session recording, so for traceability and monitoring, access to session, access to password, and an approval workflow if you need to set up an approval workflow. I will show you that in a minute. So now let's connect through the Access Manager. and I will connect as a basic user. In that case, I have no MFA used, and this is a very bad example because I shouldn't use generic accounts. It should be Mr. Basic User. As you can see here, I have access to only 3 resources. That's the only things that I'm allowed to connect to. I'm connecting remotely to the Access Manager. This is what I see. I cannot connect to anything else. Now I will use another user, privileged user. It should have more privileges. And you can see automatically I get what I'm entitled to connect to. So now let's connect to my Edge gateway. I will open a session. The key point here is that I'm connected directly. I don't know the password to connect. And not only I don't know the password, but I need to be root to do my work. And the Wallix bastion, the OT Wallix bastion did the elevation for me. I don't know the password to connect to the system, and I don't know the password to elevate my privileges again. Okay, I can now have a quick look at what's happening on my Wallix bastion. I will connect as an auditor. As an auditor, I only have auditor rights. I can only see what's happening on the session, on my system. And I can see that the real person connected behind the generic account Debian scenario is actually Mr. Privileged User. And I can have a look in real time. So if I rearrange my windows, you can see that everything I tap can be seen. So if you have someone coming from outside, you can monitor what this person is doing. And I can also block commands. So I shouldn't be able, I have root privileges, but I shouldn't be able to change the password. If I try to change the password, no, I can't. This is done automatically by the Wallix OT bastion. And it doesn't require anything to be installed on the system. Everything is done at the proxy level. Now, if I want to, okay, right, I'm going to try to be a little bit sneaky, and I'm going to put some space before. No, after 2 attempts, I will be kicked out automatically. And you can see the session has disappeared, and I should have received an email that privileged user on this target has typed password. So in real time, you can have alerts saying this something happened in this system, and you can immediately jump in and have a look. All right, okay. So I'm disconnected. So now engineering station for Windows. I want to connect to my engineering station. Again, warning, I agree to be bound by the security policy of the company. I'm an admin on this computer. If I want to run regedit, I can't. It's blocked automatically, no agent needed. And also, if I want to connect to jump on another system, local, let's get the IP address. So you can see I can run this piece of software. It's not blocked. And it's 15.6. All right, and it's blocked, but only when I try to open the connection. Then alerts will be received. Outbound connection detected, process detected. I can, as an editor, jump in and see what's happening in real time. I can also really jump into the session. So in that case, I will be I will receive a request. This is configured on the Windows itself, the confirmation. And same thing, if I want to interact, I need to agree with the security policy, even if I'm an auditor. And in that case, I will have two concurrent connections on the same system, and I can share the desktop. Let's have a look at, you could see two audit trays, by the way. So now let's disconnect. And let's have a look at session history. You can see, you can look at what happened. So we store the session recording. So you can see the video of what happened. You can see snapshots. They are generated based on the events. And you can also search for particular events. So you can see that I had some struggle to type my IP address, but you have the data. This is the important thing, the metadata, so it can be sent to a syslog system to be analyzed more globally. Now let's connect to a SCADA system, but this time I will only have access to the SCADA system. I won't have access to the engineering station. So login and password are injected automatically. Again, I should know the password only if I really need to know them. It should be avoided. And now I can have access to my SCADA system and have a look at what's happening on pump number 1. Finally, if I would need to upload a file, I can have an ICAP system, an antivirus interconnected, meaning that if my file has a virus, which is the case here, so this is the standard test case for a virus, any antivirus should say no, yes, it's a virus. And if I try to upload it, I will be disconnected immediately. All right. Now, if I try to, let's restart this. And if I try to connect to my PLC, so now I can run directly my PLC, so from my laptop. And it's encapsulated automatically in an encrypted SSH connection inside an HTTPS connection. Okay. I think my PLC software is responsive. Sorry about that. Okay, let's try again. Okay, now I'm connected and I can transfer my project automatically. And on the bastion, I can see that I have a connection to my system using the native connection. Now, if I kill and have a look at session history, I can have the trace of what information was transferred to my PLC. So it's, in that case, that's a connection, and I will only see the network capture to that PLC using Wireshark, for example. The important thing is that you have traceability, you know what happened. So you can see all the Modbus comments that were sent. Finally, I will log out, and just to show you that MFA should be implemented. So I will use Wallix TrustLM, Wallix IDaaS. This is our own MFA. You can integrate with any MFA if you already have one. I will copy my OTP, continue. I'm connected with my password and my MFA remotely and securely. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. Thank you.
Okay, so we've got another poll, the last of the polls for you to come up now, and getting towards the end of the session. So I'm going to launch the last question for you to answer. So I'll push that out to the audience for you now, and just read out the question for you. So in your opinions, what is the most important benefit of implementing a dedicated remote access solution for OT environments? So I'll leave that open for a few moments to let you vote. 30% voted so far. It's speeding up a bit now. Close that in a few seconds. Okay. So we've got two sort of answers here. 71% of the audience have said all of the above, which was improved security posture, enhanced compliance and industry regulations, and streamlined access management processes. And 21% referred to improved security posture and reduced risk across the environment. So thank you very much for that. As I say, we're going to move on now into the rest of the demonstration, into the rest of the webinar. If you have any questions, as we're coming up to that time now, please do feel free to ask any questions in the chat, and then we'll open it up and we can ask any questions to the panelists and the speakers from today. So please do ask any questions. I'll keep an eye on for those coming through. Okay. There's a couple of questions on the chat. We'll ask the audience, we're going to ask the panelists for, so we'll start with something technical. Coming off the back of the demonstration, I'll ask Nicholas a question around someone's asked around high availability, so we'll ask that. Could you explain how we sort of provide high availability for customers on their OT environment there, Nicholas? Thank you.
Okay, of course, I didn't mention it, but of course we provide high availability. We don't want a single point of failure, especially in an industrial system. So the way we do that, you can span up many appliances of the Wallix OT Bastion and the Access Manager. They will be synchronized. I mean, all the configuration on the one will be replicated automatically and in real time on the other one. And in front of them, you will have a load balancer spreading the load and, of course, detecting failure to have always access to one available device.
Thank you, Nicholas. There's another question there around pricing models, which I could probably answer for you. People asking, there's a couple of you asking around how's the solution put together regarding pricing. There's various different ways of pricing Wallix. Actually, there's a number of different options. We can go via sort of user-based, asset-based, and in some scenarios concurrency as well. So if you're interested in looking at pricing in more depth, then yeah, please reach out to us and we can arrange a conversation to see which model would suit your environment better. We'll have a look at any other questions. There's quite a few there, so we'll just have a look. Anything technical we will ask. Oh, here we go. There's a question around PLCs actually. What type What type of protocol do we support? I won't be able to answer this one, obviously, but probably direct it at Nicholas again. But what type of protocols do we support on the PLCs when we're accessing those in the industrial environments?
So any protocol that is TCP based. So out of my mind, just Siemens 7, OPC, OPC UA, Modbus. I mean, it can be any protocol, even SQL protocol. As long as it's rely on TCP, it can be encapsulated.
Excellent, thank you. Another question here relating to the technology I asked you. I think we covered it actually a little bit in the demonstration, but asking really around on-prem and SaaS. Is there, can we offer this as a SaaS model, or is it all mostly on-prem for customers?
So it can be on-prem. It can be hybrid, meaning that you can have one part on-prem and the other part in the cloud, or as a SaaS as a SaaS offering, and you can have it full SaaS as well. So the example I mentioned during my presentation is when you have one bastion on-prem and the Wallix one are remote access in the cloud, and the two are interconnected. One is on-prem, one is in the cloud. That's what I call hybrid.
Yeah. Another question here, actually, from the audience. I can't quite see that one. It's a bit okay. And it's the box has gone funny, but it's a question around both IT and OT infrastructures. Do you need two separate solutions, or can you deploy one solution to cover both? There's a good question there. Can you answer that for me, Nicholas?
Yes, so there are two sides for this question. The first one, technically, no, you don't need two separate solutions. The thing is, it depends on how far you want to go with segmentation. If you want to separate your IT and your OT, of course, you can use the same solution, but separated. Or if you want to join the two worlds, you can. But that's, I guess, Guido would say something about it, about the IEC 66433 for us. I don't know if that's allowed. Guido?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, you do not need two solutions. In the main, it's same solution for IT and OT, but we can provide you concepts of stagings so that you are able to differentiate between the IT and the OT world, but in the core, it is the same kind of solution behind it.
Okay, so the answer is yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Guido.
Yeah, and if you want, on that particular point as well, if you wanted to, you want more information, or you want to sort of look into the demonstration more, or discuss those points more, then let us know. We can jump on with you with the relevant account manager and someone from the technical pre-sales team who can talk you through the way that we set things up. Another question for you here. We'll cover another couple off. We've got a few minutes left. This one's usually quite interesting. I like these questions around passwords. If the solution goes down, for instance, and the passwords are because the passwords are being managed by the solution, how do we address that scenario if the solution's not available?
Okay, so like if an asteroid crashes and if all your passwords are gone. So we have break glass scenario. So first you can get automatically or on demand backups of the database in the appliances, meaning that you will have not only the password, the credentials, but all the information. You can store them, and you can build a new appliance, restore that backup, and you will have a full functioning appliance again in a matter of minutes, 5-10 minutes at most. Now, if you have no way to build a new appliance, you have our black glass scenario is the Wallix Bastion sending every night a bulk email with all the passwords, encrypted, of course. And the encryption is done using GPG. And of course, you need to secure that key to decrypt all the passwords, but it should be in a real safe for the CEO of the company, for instance. And you will also have an email sent each time a password is changed, because there can be a discrepancy between the bulk email sent at night and the actual password. So if you have this email sent to an administrative email recipient, you have one way to recover if the worst things happen in the world, to recover your passwords and to be able to connect directly to the systems.
Okay, thank you for explaining that. So that's our disaster recovery solution that's in place with our PAM-OT. Okay, so another question here. I think we've covered this, but actually it's quite relevant, and we get asked this quite a lot actually. Do we need to install an agent or a client on any of the endpoints or the OT environment at all?
No, you don't. So first, one of the advantage of Wallix OT is we don't need an agent to be installed. So you won't void your warranty on your systems. You don't need to install any agent, or even less with administrative rights. Second, that's on the backend part, the PLCs and the servers, the engineering station, etc. You don't need to install anything. Now, if you want the users to use the solution directly, so if you remember in my diagram, there were like internal OT operators. You can use any RDP or SSH program to connect, like any will work. Now, if for internal users or for external users, sometimes it's hard to provide them a specific software for design for a particular PAM solution. With Wallix, you just need a web browser. That's just without any plugin installed, without anything. Just a recent browser, which has HTML5 actually. So the footprint in terms of deployment is very limited on the server side and also on the client side.
Excellent. Thanks for that explanation. Very in depth. And a last question I think we'll finish on around just one of the things you last touched upon actually was the multi-factor authentication at the end there. I think you showed that as being, I heard you mention that was a Wallix product, but can we integrate with other products, and how does that work?
Of course, so we rely on Radius for MFA, and we rely on SAML. So any provider that can provide such a MFA through LDAP as well, we are compatible.
Okay, excellent. So if customers are using things like Windows Azure, they can integrate with that, yeah?
MFA, Okta, as long as it's SAML compliant or Radius compliant, it will work. Both internally on the Bastion and externally on the Access Manager.
Great, and thanks for clarifying that at the end there, that we can do it from both sides as well for internal users and also for the third-party remote access users as well. Any other questions at all? We're getting close to time now. I think that's probably the last of the questions. Thank you very much for attending our webinar today. Hope you've got some insightful information from the expert speakers we've gathered together for you from Wallix. Thank you very much for the in-depth questions at the end. Really, really insightful, and thanks for engaging with our polls. We look forward to engaging with you over the coming weeks, etc. If you want any demonstrations on the products, etc., like that. And thank you very much for attending our webinar today. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Goodbye.